What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. For today's video, thanks to Yolopark, we're going to be checking out their Transformers Rise of the Beasts AMK series Scourge. Now, if you would like this or any of their previously released characters, then be sure to check out the link down below and use the discount code Prime vs Prime at checkout. Now, as we check out the packaging up front, we have two savage CG renders. I really thought Scourge was by far one of the best looking villains that we've seen in a while for the live action movies, and as we check out the back of the box, it again gives you a very brief overview of the assembly process, but it's the same deal as before. So everything comes pre-cut, pre-painted, there is no glue required, so not only are these perfect for beginners, but for those who simply want a non-transforming Transformers action figure. And as we check out the product shots, these are looking killer, to the point where this may just be the best looking Scourge so far released for this film. Now, without a doubt, this has been one of my most anticipated releases for the year, so let's waste no time at all. Let's terrorize Scourge into his robot form and stack him up against some of the Autobots and the Maximals. And bang! Here we have Scourge fully assembled, and with the release of this figure, I now think Yolopark easily have the opportunity to single-handedly annihilate the action figure competition. This release retails for no more than $30, and when you consider just how accurate he is to the CG model, I really can't think off the top of my head any other action figure line which offers more bang for your buck than this AMK series. As we check out the details, the face sculpt is looking sick. He still retains the iconic Terracon insignia as his main face plate, but check out some of the battle damage details. He is literally missing an entire chunk here out of the right hand side, and the teeth are looking just as nasty as how they appeared in the movie. Scourge is also one of the very first Rise of the Beast figures to feature fully articulated fingers, which for this character I think are perfect. These are super lanky, incredibly creepy, and they're also packing some spiked knuckles, so just by themselves look ruthless. Both of the arms are covered in this faction detail. We get some Autobot ones, Maximal, Predacon, Decepticon, so those are really wicked, and he's also packing that gigantic electromagnetic claw which he literally destroyed Apelink with in the film. Now, because Scourge doesn't transform, you know, this is just an action figure at the end of the day, it has allowed Yolopark to include details which maybe you would have missed. So, for example, I had no idea that on the inside of his torso are the front two wheels from his truck mode. That is such a great attention to detail. As we check out the legs, these are looking fantastic. Even as we spin around here to the back, that savage spinal column I think is looking sick. I mean, check out the serrated blades. But as I'm sure you guys may remember, Scourge was Unicron's most powerful henchman. So as a result of that, let's see what weaponry he is packing. And first up, we see the return of his energized blade. Now, we see him use this to impel Bumblebee with in the film, so it's pretty cool to see some of the battle damage details. It can be very easily inserted into the forearm, and I like how it is removable, so you can kind of match how Scourge would appear throughout the movie. The second accessory he includes is by far my favourite. This is his EMP blaster, which we do see him use to basically kill Bumblebee off with. Now, in the movie, this would transform out of his claw. So for this action figure, you have to remove the claw and slide this over the top, although it definitely does give you the impression that it has transformed out of the forearm. And I also like how the claw pieces are articulated, so if you fully splay them open, am I crazy, or does this kind of look like the parasite that Scourge kind of fired at Airazor to infect her with in the movie? So if that's the case, that is an incredible attention to detail. And then the third and final accessory this guy includes is one that looks a little strange just by itself. This is Scourge's real face. This is his faceplate. So surely this can mean only one thing. That being that, much like in the movie when Mirage gives this guy a high kick, the faceplate is removable, and that just by itself will reveal the true face of Scourge. Now, the only issue with this face sculpt is because it's what holds on the face mask, you are left with this massive slot in the forehead. So I think it's really cool that Yolopark have included this second one to truly match what we saw in the film, and the details are looking insane. I really like some of the tendrils that can be seen beneath Scourge's eye, and the chains which kind of wrap around the forehead. I like how the faceplate can now become a separate piece, so much like in the movie, you can have this guy actually glancing at it, which is such a sick attention to detail. Now, checking out Scourge's posability, when designing a non-transforming transformer, there are really two important things to bear in mind. The first one would be detail and accuracy, and the second one would definitely be articulation. If you're going to remove the whole transformation element, then you need to make sure that your action figure can pose better than the actual transforming version of itself, and this is one area where I think Yolopark absolutely obliterate those Transformers RED figures. So, up first, the head and the neck are both on ball joints. This allows it to look up, down, tilt side to side, rotate left to right. He even includes some actual jaw articulation, which is brilliant because Scourge was such an emotive character in the movie. The shoulder pads can hinge up to allow the ball joints here to rotate all the way around with no problem. They can then crunch forwards, crunch back, up and down. The main shoulder pad itself will move out to allow the shoulder to kick out roughly to that far. Now, due to the claw being a little weighty, the ball joints at a certain point may kind of droop, but if you smack on some floor polish, I imagine that will fix that problem, no issue. In terms of the bicep, this can rotate all the way around, and he also includes double jointed elbows, which are awesome. Now, this claw can rotate at the base, which is sick because this does actually spin in the movie, and the fingers themselves are articulated at 2 individual points, so that's wicked. In terms of the torso, this will crunch back, it will crunch forwards, rock side to side, tilt side to side slightly, although you're really going to rely on the waist joint to get him looking left to right, so that's pretty sick. Much like some of their past releases, the hips are on drop down joints, so you can bring these down to allow for a fantastic high kick. That is brilliant. They will then kick back basically even further than the forwards range. That is sick. They can kick out to the sides to a pretty decent range. There is a thigh swivel, a double joint here at the knee, although you are going to want to take this piece, move it backwards, and it will bend here, and then at a second point, kind of moving this piston joint. So really well designed. I do wish in some ways maybe this could have kicked a little further backwards, but due to this panel, I imagine that maybe would have jeopardized the design. And then finally, as we check out the ankles, for this, you're going to want to come here to the ankle guard, hinge this up to allow the ankle to rock forwards that far. Then you're going to want to take this back guard, hinge it back to allow them to rock back this far. They'll then rotate left to right, rock side to side in both directions. And then finally, check this out, he's even packing a toe pivot. So articulation wise is just brilliant. Again, especially for that price point. But to see what Scourge is truly capable of, now let's put him through the pose test. Now, checking out some comparisons, on the right hand side we have their Rise of the Beasts Optimus Primal. Here is how Scourge stacks up against their Optimus Prime. These two are looking awesome and scale wise appears to be pretty much spot on to what we actually saw in the movie. Next up is their Rise of the Beast Bumblebee. Now, to compare Yolopark Scourge against some of Hasbro's Studio Series releases, first of all we have their Leader Class Scourge. Now, I think Hasbro did a pretty good job in making a transforming version of Scourge, but clearly after watching the movie, unfortunately there were quite a few inaccuracies, especially when it comes down to that head sculpt, whereas here with Yolopark Scourge, that head sculpt is a straight 10 out of 10, and luckily whilst he is a little bigger than the Leader Class, I still think this scale wouldn't work out too badly being paired against some of the other Autobots, Maximals and Terracons. Which, speaking of, here we have the buzzworthy Bumblebee Optimus Prime. Now, I really don't care in the slightest that Prime is a little too small compared to this Scourge. I think in terms of a display, these two look killer stacked up against each other. And to now fire through a few comparisons, first up we have the Leader Class Optimus Primal, Voyager Class Rhinox, Cheetor, and Battle Trap. I really wouldn't mind Yolopark continuing this Rise of the Beast subline to give us an AMK series release of some of the Terracons, as I think their designs were incredibly awesome in the movie. For some deluxes, here we have Mirage, Terracon Nightbird, and finally, Bumblebee. Call me crazy, but I think this scale actually works out better compared to the Yolopark Bumblebee. And so, wrapping up on this review for the Yolopark Transformers Rise of the Beasts AMK series Scourge. Personally, I think this is a fantastic figure. What many of you guys may not know is that besides Transformers, I do collect quite a lot of Marvel Legends, and here in the UK, they retail for around about £25, which really isn't too dissimilar to the retail price here for this Scourge. So when I see how much you get with this package, it quite simply blows me away from an action figures collector's standpoint. You get a shed ton of accessories, amazing sculpt work that could rival those charging upwards of $200. The articulation, I think, is simply crazy. These figures really completely annihilate the official Transformers red line, and I think at this point Hasbro really should just give Yolopark complete creative license over a non-transforming Transformers action figure line, because I think they would absolutely turn the tide when it comes to the action figure market. The plastic quality for something which is being dubbed officially as a model kit, I think is wicked. Again, put some of those proper action figure companies to shame. This is a straight 10 out of 10 in my book and was most definitely worth the wait. I would love to get your thoughts on Scourge down in the comment section below. If you guys are planning to add this figure to your collection, then be sure to check out the links down below. I want to thank you all so much for watching, and until my next review, transform and roll out!